8 o'clock, so we will start the redevelopment commission meeting. Roll call, Bob Buchan, Richard Wertz here, BJ Deppie, present, Paul Hewing here, Keith Fox here, Danny Vaught here. We have a quorum. Approval of the minutes for the November 20th, 2018 meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
I know there's a typo, just on the second page of the minutes. The first one, Gateway Project LLC, second line, there's the word the covenants, which is covenants.
Okay. With that correction, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Old business. The Franklin Development Corporation's funding request for the 2019 programming. They were here and presented last week, or last meeting, and in the model that Krista has done, they have slotted in $300,000 for the 2019 year. So I'll open it up for any discussion or questions.
I would like it to be more, but I understand there are budgetary constraints. Because they certainly approve of what they did.
I concur with that. I think that obviously we'd all like for it to be more than that. I understand that we're in a position right now where from a fiduciary standpoint, we've got to keep a little closer eye on things. But I am very happy that we can move forward with this money and continue to do the good things that the FTC does.
Would any of you like to interject?
No, just a quick comment. We're very appreciative of whatever you can do. And we do realize that there's some limitations this year.
That is Jeff Mercer.
So on behalf of FTC, thank you very much.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries for $300,000. Jeff, if I could get you to come up here for just a moment. For those that don't know, Jeff Mercer has been the FDC representative with the FDC as a liaison with the city and the RDC for approximately 4 years, and we appreciate the service. He is getting ready for retirement and will be leaving us. There was a plaque ordered, unfortunately. In the best of times, it did not make it today, but it will be to you. And on behalf of the RDC and the city, we appreciate all you've done for the FDC and bringing us to this level.
Thank you very much. I'm humbled and honored and very appreciative. It's been my pleasure to serve and enjoyed working alongside all of you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to new business. Resolution 2018-43, authorizing the disposition of real property, Shell Building number 2. Rob?
In my view, we need to offer this, any real estate that you intend to sell needs to be offered to the public. This gets that process started. A couple outcomes are possible. One is that no one will submit a bid, in which case we proceed with the Amazing Foods proposal. Another outcome is that somebody submits a bid, including Amazing Foods, and would be permitted to accept it, or you could reject all bids. there's a couple things that still need to happen, and so I view this as really I guess my request would be that you consider passing this and giving the president the authority to make a couple changes once we have additional information. And the missing information right now is we have one appraisal in, but as of right now, I don't think we have the second one. And the offering sheet needs to set the asking price at the average of those two appraisals. So once I know that, that's just math, and I can plug that in and get this published. Under the dates that I've got proposed, we would be sending this out for publication as soon as the second appraisal is in, with the hope that you'd be able to open any bids at your January meeting. That's kind of an aggressive schedule, but right now I think we could do it.
Are the offering sheet and the resolution together? Or
Yeah,
separate?
the resolution approves the offering sheet. While we're on that topic, I might say that since we met last, Amazing Foods has registered with the Indiana Secretary of State. I still have not yet heard back from them with respect to my comments on the purchase agreement.
Good morning, Jason County, would you know this? We've been working with Amazing Food and Beverage.
Can you come out, please?
Yes.
So, don't want me here to go to the last part of my sentence.
Apologies, sorry, I just wanted to
No, go ahead.
get it before you guys know.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, good morning. My name is Jason County with Genoa's, and we've been working with Amazing Food and Beverage. For beginning, just want to give a quick update. I believe most of you know, unfortunately, Mr. May here recently had suffered a really bad bout with pneumonia. He's experienced some serious medical conditions as a result of it, infection throughout the body. His health, he's been struggling to get through it. He's progressing at a slow pace. Last updates we had, he anticipates hopefully being out of the hospital here either this week or next week, and then is hoping to be back to work the first of the year. His daughter, Lauren Price, is appointed as his power of attorney with the intent of helping him keep this project moving forward. As far as in regards to the purchase agreement, that's with their attorney, Jeff Abrams of Taft. He's working with Tim and with Lauren on reviewing the agreement and getting together their final comments, which we should hopefully have here to the city here very soon. So, I don't know if anyone had any questions, but just, I know this obviously has progressed a little bit slower pace, and unfortunately with Mr. May's health, but, he's, like I say, he's getting better at a slower pace than we'd like, but, all signs for us, we want to keep this going forward, so, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Rob, you want to finish it?
So does anybody have any questions?
Should we open it the public meeting? At this time, we'll open this authorization of disposition of real property up to a public meeting. Any comments? Questions? Okay, the public meeting is closed, and we would need a motion to move forward on the resolution and the offering sheet.
And could we make it with granting the president the authority to make the map revision once we have the second appraisal?
So moved. Have a motion, need a second.
Second.
A motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. That brings us to the financial portion of our meeting. Krista?
So I'm gonna bring this up for you on the screen. I have your November financial report, and I just want to go over, this will look a little different at our January meeting when we do the December report, but you'll see I added a couple columns at the right, which I do this at the end of each year, so that you know which projects are being incorporated into next year and which projects are completed. And then overall, and I won't go through those line by line because there's 42 of them. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have about those. But I've worked with Mark Richards on this to come up with the amount that needs to be brought over into the next year. And so if there's a 0 in the encumbered column, then obviously that project's not going into the next year. But if there is an amount, that's what the amount in that red column, that's the amount that's being encumbered into next year. So if we had originally appropriated, like for example, at the bottom, we had the Andy Street construction, and so we appropriated $309,500. What's being encumbered into next year is $300,563. So from your original amount to that, there was a project savings there. There's some significant ones, especially the Linville Way construction, which is line 49, resolution 1834. So this is one that originally we had a resolution from the bond, and that was just an estimate when we got construction bids in, and the project is actually finished now. The original amount that was appropriated versus what the project actually cost, there's a project savings there of $371,000. So going through all of those lines, you can see at the bottom what we had in committed funds versus what we're carrying over into next year. We have a project savings of $1.7 million. So your December report will look a lot different. And your January report will look a lot different. So our estimated cash balance here looks like it's the 1.2, but really you could add 1.7 to that because of these funds that aren't going to be spent on projects. So just that happens every year at the end of the year when we try to clean up these projects that aren't being finished. And next year, I know we've talked a little bit about this, and I've talked to Jane and Sharon with the clerk treasurer's office that next year we're going to hopefully do one resolution that appropriates all of our TIF funds, and then that way, if a project comes in under budget, we can automatically just adjust it on our financial report, and we don't have to wait till the end of the year and reduce that resolution with another resolution and do quite so much advertising and paperwork per se. So we'll see how that goes, but that's your updated for November. Are there any questions on that? The TIF bond report, there really aren't any changes on that one. We do continue to get some small reimbursements from the state for projects, and so occasionally, I think there was one resolution where we spent a couple $1,000 out of, but for the most part, that remains unchanged for the TIF bond. The cash flow analysis is probably the one that we've spent the most time on revising. And this is just for planning purposes. If it's not listed, if it's listed at the bottom under projects under consideration, none of those have been approved, and so these are just hypotheticals. And for example, we plugged in, as Richard mentioned earlier, for the FTC, we put $300,000 in here just to see how that would calculate at the bottom based on all these other projects that are under consideration. So there were a lot of changes to this one after those numbers were confirmed through the end of the year, and those were reflected, those were changed under the approved projects, so those amounts were changed above, and then you can see the list of projects that we have coming up for 2019, and this goes to 2021. There are copies in the audience, and it's attached to the agenda. Anybody, I know you can't read it from the audience, so. questions on this one?
Maybe take 30 seconds and talk about Mitsubishi.
Sure.
Okay.
Is there art?
Oh, okay. So, Mitsubishi has a couple different tax abatements, one for personal property, two for real property, and when you have a tax abatement, there's a yearly compliance report that is due to us that we turn into the county. And the county also has a form that is a state prescribed form. For personal property, it's a 103 ERA, and for real property, it's called a 322 RB. They're their forms. They require companies, when they file their taxes, to fill out these forms to claim their abatement. If they don't file these forms, they don't get the abatement. It's just the way the county, that's kind of like our compliance forms. If they don't fill out the forms, they don't get the abatement. So apparently this form was missed on their 3 current abatements that were approved in 2013. So in order for them to get this abatement credit, the only remedy to that is a waiver of noncompliance. So we brought them back before our Economic Development Commission, and then they send a recommendation to our city council. Well, they're actually technically two different companies. One is the real estate and one is the personal property. And make a long story short, but it came through for the waiver of noncompliance for the personal property. And that was granted through the EDC, recommended to the city council, and that's been done. They've come back with 2 more requests for the real property. And we've done a little more digging through the county to find out exactly how does that work as far as we were under the impression it was a credit on their taxes moving forward. Apparently, it's not. Apparently, the county gives them the reimbursement for taxes that they paid in error. And then when they make whichever next disbursement to the taxing entities, which are twice a year, so ours will be in December, they reduce that amount from our tax disbursement. Well, the calculations are not in yet from the county. They're supposed to get those to me this week, but I believe we're talking in the ballpark of almost $200,000 because this has been going on from 14, 15, 16, 17 of taxes that they paid that they're asking for a refund on because they didn't file their form and they didn't notice that they didn't get their tax abatement for 4 years. We have done waivers in the past. They have never been to this scale or to this amount because typically they have, you get your tax bill and whoever pays the taxes notices right away that they are not getting their abatement. And so we've never had a company wait 4 years and come in and request a waiver. It's always been 6 months or a year, and therefore the amounts have never been this great. So they came and requested this at the last EDC meeting, which was last week, and the EDC didn't feel comfortable making a recommendation to the city council without the exact information from the county of, for certain, the dollar amounts. The reason that we're talking about this today is because Mitsubishi is in our TIF district. This affects us directly as the Redevelopment Commission because this would come out of our disbursement that we either receive in December, depending on how quickly this gets acted upon, or in June of next year. So I don't have an answer for you that on the amount or what the EDC and then the city council will decide, but that is currently under consideration. Did I miss anything?
That's excellent.
Questions?
So this would affect our May tax bill or whatever that show up.
I would assume
Or not
because,
show up as the case may be.
correct.
Mayor,
Yeah, just for the record, I want you to know that I recommended to the EDC, we've already set a precedent of going back 1 year. So I recommended the 1 year. I knew it would be the struggle we're in right now to fund everything we want to fund. I think to take $200,000 away would just add to that misery, so, I recommended 1 year, the EDC, I just want to let you know that. I don't know how they'll come back, I mean, it's up to the EDC.
Yeah, and I'm trying to clarify, if we don't do the waiver, do they get the tax abatement for the remainder of the years? Because it was a 10-year abatement. So I don't have any quite, this is a little bit uncharted territory. So if we don't grant the waiver, do they still get the remainder of the abatement? Do we have to grant the waiver for them to even get the remainder of the abatement? Can we grant a waiver for 1 year prior, or does it have to be an all or nothing? I don't quite have the answers to all those questions, which is why I was able. So,
Yes,
stay tuned.
I don't think you need to take any action, I just thought you needed to know that.
Mayor, have you spoken to Mitsubishi?
I have not.
Any other questions?
I have quite a bit.
Okay.
But, you know, they're doing, you know, they filed whatever forms that the county says that they need, and they filed, you know, now that, see, they have filed their compliance reports every year, so we were not aware that they weren't getting their abatement. They apparently weren't checking on it, and the county doesn't make a habit of notifying people that they're not getting, I mean, that's the responsibility is on the company to check their tax bills, so. That's where we're at.
Good luck. I know they're a important part of our community and a big player.
They are, they substantial employer, and, you know, it's just a little confusing as to how, you know, they've had many abatements in the past, and to how this could be, you know, left happen for so many years without being caught, so.
I'll just make one comment. If you look down at 2019, through the RDC, there's about $8 million of potential expenditures for next year. Any other questions? Thank you, Krista.
And this, I'll continue to update this for each meeting, and if anyone ever wants to, and I do think that, we met just Friday, I believe it was, with Jeff Peters. I know that we had asked for some updated revenue projections on our tax receipts, just to make sure that the numbers that we're planning for in here are still relevant. I think I had mentioned at our last meeting that those hadn't been updated since we did the bond in 2015. But I think, according to Jeff, these numbers are still on track. And so I think now what we'll do, the mayor and I, kind of like we did last year, is meet with RDC members and FDC members, go through the list of projects, and we'll do that on a one-on-one basis with you all, so that we have some time to go through this list, and you can ask any questions that you might have then. So we'll start scheduling those probably the first of the year.
Then that brings us to D. We have scheduled a joint RDC and city council meeting Monday, January 28th at 6 p.m. here in City Hall. And Franklin Council was advised last night of the meeting. Next, we want to recognize Danny Vaught for his many years of service to the RDC as a liaison with the school board, Franklin Community School Board. And we appreciate all you've done and being part of this group.
Well, thank you very much. It's been the contrast downtown, especially in the last few years. I remember when the RDC was looking at the plans of doing everything that has almost all been done now, and I remember thinking, wow, how can that ever, all of that happen, and it's happened. And the work that the RDC does is it's just I think it's been incredible as it relates to the condition of our city. And I've had a good seat to get to watch a lot of good work, and I'm very appreciative for that. One of my friends that graduated with me here has lived in Central Illinois for the last 35 years. And he comes home every so often. We were talking about Franklin, and he said, Franklin's one city that's got it going on. And I think that about sums it up. I'm very appreciative for all the work with this administration and with Mayor McGinnis's administration. It's been it's been very rewarding. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
This is just for informational purpose. US EPA multi-purpose grant application is due January 31st.
Yeah, if I could just elaborate just briefly on that. I had met with an environmental firm that brought this to our attention. There's a new grant program through the US EPA starting next year that's available, and we were looking at this grant as a possibility for the redevelopment area, the flood property redevelopment area of downtown along Youngs Creek. This is a highly competitive grant program. They only are going to award 10 of these in the whole United States. So we are going to hopefully put an application together. It would allow for phase 1, phase 2, any remediation that needs to be done as far as environmental. And then it would also allow for hiring a consultant for the planning of the redevelopment of the area. There is a small grant match, it's $40,000, but we could ask for up to $800,000. So as I dig into this deeper, we'll let you know some additional information. That just wanted to make you aware that we are looking at that as a possibility to help with the redevelopment of that area.
Okay. Next is the Redevelopment Association Indiana site tour in June of 2019.
So each year, the Redevelopment Association of Indiana, which is a kind of a subsidiary of AIM, which used to be IACT, the Indiana Association of Cities and Towns. The Redevelopment Association of Indiana has a site tour each year, and I have attended those. Bob Hukins attended some of those with me, Ronnie attended those with me, the mayors sometimes attend those. They do one per year, and Franklin was asked to host that for this year. I think we have a lot of really great projects that we can showcase to communities around the state. And so I just wanted to let you know, I don't have an exact date set for that yet, but just to be aware that hopefully sometime in June, we will be the host city for that this year for the state of Indiana.
Congratulations.
Aren't you the president next year?
I am the president next year, so I feel like maybe that
Didn't hurt anything?
goes along with those duties as that. So, yes,
That's impressive for Franklin.
it is, yep.
One thing for the RDC, just mentioning, is we need to keep the US 31 North and South TIF in mind for 2019 and future with the development of the road. And we want to make sure that we continue to work with our school on this big project. Public comments and announcement. Mayor?
I have none at this time. Great job. Thank you, Danny, for.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Comment?
Richard, I would like to add what you've done, the RDC, with the schools. We appreciate that. You have, with the RDC, they have been very good about what you did with Chromebooks and that sort of thing. You've helped all the kids in the school corporation, and we thank the RDC for that very much.
Thank you. The next meeting, January 15th,
Yes.
2019. And if there's no other business, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Move second, meeting adjourned.